Hi there. I'm going to talk to you about revision, and I'm going to suggest that you revise throughout your 2-year course. Why? Because it is a 2-year course. IGCSE students, you're going to be covering 11 different topics. IB higher level students, you're going to be covering at least 6 different topics, and they're big ones. If you leave that to the end of a 2-year course, you're going to find it hard to cope. So revise as you go along. What I used to do with my students was at the end of topic 2, I would set them a past exam question on topic 1. And we would do that in class under time conditions. Now this would force them to revise. It would give them continuous practice at timed essay writing, and I would mark those questions at exam standards, and that way my students could plot their progress through the course. Now, of course, you are forced, I hope at least, forced to revise for end-of-year exams and for mock exams. And let me tell you something I think is very important for you about those exams. Now, nobody works as hard for an end-of-year or a mock exam as they will for the real thing. Just like an Olympic runner will not break the Olympic record in training or something is going wrong, but hopefully he or she will break that Olympic record and win the gold in the final. So it is for you. Work hard for those end of year and mock exams, but don't break your neck. But in working hard, you will have a good idea of where you're at that point. And you know what your target is, whether it's a C, a B, an A or an A star, whether it's a 4, a 5, a 6 or a 7. You know your target. And by working reasonably hard for those end of year and mock exams, you will know where you're at that point. And so you'll know the gap that you need to make, to bridge, in order to achieve that target of yours. And that's vitally important information for you. So think about that. But now we come to the critical stage, those 6 weeks or so before the real thing, the one that counts. How do you revise for that? I've talked about this in another video, and my advice would be revise through past exam questions. I have hundreds and hundreds of them, and I'm sure your teacher has the same. So if you don't think you've got enough right now, nag them for more. So, you've got your strongest topics. Collect your questions for those strong topics and revise through them. If there's a question that you know you couldn't answer, then you need to revise hard for that, because that could be in your exam or something very similar. But there might be questions that you're pretty confident on, except for one point. You know it should be in the answer, but you're not sure what it is that you would say about it. Well, go away and revise until you do know what you would write. That way, your revision will be efficient, focused, and that's important in that last critical period. So, revise as you go along, and I hope you've seen this video in time for that advice. If not, just adapt. Make the most use that you can of your end of year exam and your mock exam, and focus on past questions for your critical 6 weeks before the real thing. I hope you found that useful. Cheers.